JJ, we got Johnson. We got Johnson at 26. We got Johnson at 26. This is great.
It is Matt, it is Richie. We are hanging out with the Jets Lounge guys. Richie, my man, how's it going?
Matt, this is sick. We're at the Jets Lounge event in Farmingdale. The main event is what it's called. We got the entire Rucker family over there.
Jets! Jets!
It is Jets Chaos, and I am in the Jets Lounge right here across the country in Sacramento. We got a great show tonight. I'm excited. We moved back a day. You got to hear me rant yesterday, and you got to see me do the Sunday show tonight, the Vinny and the Jets show in the Jets Lounge. And I want to say you're kind of getting double chaos, except that's what we call my brother, so I don't want to offend him. Anyway, without further ado, let's bring in my co-host. You know him. You love him. Vincenzo.
Jeremy, how's everything tonight?
We're good. We're good. It's nighttime for the East Coast. It's early afternoon for the West Coast. So it's hot here in Sacramento, though. It's hot.
I can imagine. It's hot over here, too. I'm having a late dinner. But listen, I know you missed me yesterday. But it was all for the right reason because we're bringing on a very special guest tonight, another West Coast Jets fan.
Okay, well, why don't you do the introduction?
Well, to everyone who's watching, I cannot do an intro to Jeremy's level. This gentleman, I was fortunate enough to be his very first guest on his channel. You could find him over as the host at the NYJ Ground Crew. His name is Aaron Peffer, formerly of New York. Now in the greater Los Angeles area. Let's bring on Aaron.
Let's bring him in. Woo!
And there he is.
Gentlemen, nice to see you. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Welcome to the Jets Lounge, Aaron. Thanks again for coming on. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. And thank you again, Vinny, for being my first guest on the show.
Appreciate it. The honor is all ours tonight.
Jeremy, good to see you.
It's good to see you, man. It's exciting to get you onto the channel. First time. So that's good. Hopefully not the last. And I know you're all pumped up to talk Jets.
Always. I mean, never not pumped up to talk Jets.
Which is super cool. We have Tony Alexio here. He used to love Strevler. Now he loves Izzy. So he loves the Izzy package. I think he wants to hear me yell Adabakanda many, many times this year. Hopefully the kid will get some reps and we'll have the opportunity. Hank G is here as well. What's going on, Hank? Good to see you, man. So I was thinking that one of the things that we need to talk about, if you look at the Jets right now, we celebrated so much this offseason, Aaron Rodgers, all that good stuff. The biggest question right now, I think that we could agree for the Jets, the biggest question mark, the biggest area of concern is the offensive line. Do we agree?
100%. 100%.
Okay. So I would love to hear from you, Aaron. What is your, how do you feel about the Jets offensive line? How do you think it's going to pan out? How concerned are you?
I've gone back and forth with this a lot, like on my level of concern. We'll be fine. I wanted to take on Salah's optimism on this, but the longer we go on, the more concerned I get. right? I mean, for starters, the tackle position is way too important in this league to even mess around with. And here we are. We've got 4 of them with big question marks. Dwayne Brown, going to be 39 years old, right? And obviously, he was brought in just to really be the backup last year behind Becton before he got hurt. It's hard to remember that, but if you remember in the green and white scrimmage, he was actually there watching, and then Becton got hurt, and then he signed, right? So it wasn't like we were bringing him in, and then we paid him, about $10-11 million a year to have him be the starting left tackle, of course. So question marks on him. You haven't seen him fully practice. Mitchell and Turner are not the guys on the right side. It's obvious at this point you can't have them at right tackle. So what else are you going to do? Laken Tomlinson was bad last year.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. We have huge news just in from Ian Rappaport. At long last, the Jets are signing former Vikings running back Dalvin
Cook.
Versus tell me in terms of the free agent available and another weapon for new quarterback Aaron Rodgers and company. New York Jets load up.
What are we paying him?
Yeah, details. What are the details?
Break it down
Years,
for us.
money.
I'm sorry, you want the money? I let me. It just came in, so let me. Right now we have guessing. Cook to the Jets. I don't have any. There's no guessing on money yet.
You know for a fact this was a response because the fact that earlier today Zeke went ahead and signed with the Pats.
Yeah, there was no doubt. That's a great call, Vinny. That he signed his 1-year deal, which is about $3 million, I think, for the year. Let's see if we paid Cook any more than 4.5. Hopefully not. At that money, though, he'd be worth it.
This is crazy. Let's see the reaction from people. Sorry to interrupt you. Had to interrupt you for that because I never get to be on air when something like
has
this
the breaking
goes
news
down.
happen.
It finally happened.
It's kind of cool. That was awesome.
And you know what this is going to do? This now creates another question: is now who is this going to affect that's already on the roster? Is it Bam, Michael Carter? I highly doubt Izzy. I highly doubt Breece. It's either Bam or Carter is going to feel this now because there's no way they're going to carry all these guys going into week 1.
Well, I'll tell you. I'm going to give my opinion. I'll pass it around. Here's why I think it's going to be Michael Carter over Bam Knight. And even though people think it was going to be Michael Carter that was going to get cut. Michael Carter, aside from how he looked, just this past game, where he was looking like the Michael Carter we remember from his rookie season, it's just, and I'm stealing this from Dom C, so I don't want to act like I came up with this myself. I want to give him credit. But Dom C convinced me that Michael Carter is the best fit for the running back room when you think about style, right? So when you think about style and you have a Breece Hall, a Dalvin Cook, it makes sense to have Michael Carter. Just from his ability to come out of the backfield as a receiver. He's just a better complement than Bam Knight would be. And that was, that's an opinion that I agreed with from Dom C. So it's my opinion. So I think that you're going to see, the person in the most trouble would be Bam Knight. I don't think he'll survive the practice squad personally. I think he showed too much in the beginning of last year before our offensive line was decimated. But I'll pass it on to our guest here, Aaron, and you just tell us what you think.
Yeah, look, Carter's been described as the heart and soul of this team by a lot of other players, right? But the truth of the matter is, coming out of training camp, everybody's saying that Bam Knight's been the best running back. And he's shown the most on the field week in and week out. Now, obviously, Carter looked like Carter of old. A great game against Carolina, but this is preseason. You don't want to read too much into that either. You still got a couple of weeks to go to see what ultimately happens. But at the end of the day, I would say Knight over Carter. It would probably, Breece, obviously, number 1. You're going to have Cook, number 2. And then you're going to have Izzy and Bam. Carter, the odd man out. Does he sneak to the practice squad? Did somebody else pick him up? I would think somebody else picks him up, or we would try and trade him before anything happens. But yeah, I would think Carter's out. Although again, you're such a great locker room guy, it's hard to lose that. But at the same time, look at the culture of the team. It's transformed at this point with Rodgers. You don't necessarily need Michael Carter there pumping everybody up or keeping everyone together. You already have that going.
So what do you think, Vincenzo? Is it Knight or Carter? Who's going?
I gotta go. I'm gonna have to agree with Aaron here. I'm more likely it's Carter, and I know he has that strong locker room presence. He's also a fan favorite. He's had a very strong camp. He's looked good in the preseason, but like Aaron also said, he probably has a higher trade value than Bam does, because Bam, since he's been here, he's been more likely than a kind of a practice player. As far as Carter goes, I would hold on to him at least until the final preseason game. There's always that one or two teams out there that suffers that devastating injury, and maybe you could flip him for a day 3 pick and salvage something out of him before you let him go.
Okay, so it's 1 year up to $8.6 million. That's interesting because we were talking about $7 million guaranteed. A lot of people I was talking to with incentives to get up to even $10 million if we can, and everybody agreed that it was great for us to do a 1 year deal. So the 1 year part is great. The fact that it only goes up to 8.6 is making me think maybe there's only like $6 million guaranteed. I don't know for sure, but for 1 year, does it really matter? It feels like we have the money to have made this move anyway. We have plenty of money in reserve. Are either of you concerned about the money?
No. Why would we be concerned when Rodgers just gave the team back $35 million? He had Dalvin Cook in mind because he's been playing against them for the last couple of years. He wanted Dalvin Cook on this team. And when you command that type of leadership, not just in the locker room, but the front office, you're going to get to pick and choose the guys that you want around you. And now that we know that Dalvin Cook is going to command $8.6 million, if that's true, he's RB1 week 1. And I want to see, Breece get his touches, but I think it also says a lot about maybe there's more to Breece's knee than we actually know as the fans. Like, I expect him to be on the sideline week 1, but I don't think he gets as many carries as we expected him to have as, prior to the injury.
Yeah, I'm a little more concerned about the money than you are. I don't like the setting of the precedent. I don't like to be the team that's always the one giving away top dollar when you could have gotten a better bargain for somebody. When you're looking at guys on, out there like a Saquon who's got to come back at $10, $11 million on a franchise tag, and you're giving Cook 8.6, just to come for the year. And I get it. Rodgers giving back the $35 million, which I hope we touch on and we talk about that, because that in itself is astounding and needs to be talked about on every show across Jets universe for the next couple of weeks, maybe deep into the season. But, I guess it's partly neither here nor there, but at the same time, again, to me, he's at this point, a $4.5, maybe $5 million guaranteed player. If you want to go up to $8 or $8.5 million with the incentives, I get that on the guarantee. Again, don't want to quibble too much about $1 million. You're not just giving this guy $12 million guaranteed. That would have been a problem. It's probably not that big of a deal. But yes, I'm always concerned about the money. I always play GM.
Well, I gotta say, what does this mean to me? What does this tell me? I would suspect, based on the signing, to answer Harry's question, why would you give up Carter for a 1 year deal? Well, we certainly have been acting like a team that's putting a lot of our chips in the middle. The balance of the future versus win now, win a Super Bowl, has clearly shifted to the win now mode more than it's, obviously more than the last 2 years that JD's been in charge. So it's very clear we're investing a lot in this year. But I have another theory, and my theory is maybe they don't think Breece Hall is going to be ready, and maybe they're even going to pup him for the first 6 weeks. Who knows? And maybe that realization came. Maybe they waited as long as they could. Maybe they didn't get the results they wanted. They think it's going to be a delay. Maybe they don't believe until we're going to have Breece Hall midseason. And Dalvin Cook is a great insurance policy to say, Michael Carter, Donovan Knight, whoever it is, these are backup running backs, right? Or weaker starting RB1s. Let's bring in a proven veteran. Let's bring in Dalvin Cook. Make sure that we have a legitimate running back number 1 until Breece Hall is ready.
I like that train of thought. I'm with you, Jeremy. The idea that Hall might not be ready for week 1, and if you don't need to rush him back and you want to give him those extra 4 to 6 weeks, now you've got Cook, who is clearly a legitimate starting 1 with 3 great guys behind him at this point. Yeah.
Right. And we don't know for a fact that it's Michael Carter, Harry. Remember, one of us up here thinks it's going to be Donovan Knight. But the other question that might come to mind, or someone might ask, is, unfortunately, I can answer my own question, but I'll ask you guys to just reaffirm it and say, do you agree that although they're decent players and they deserve a roster spot on some team, the value in the market on running backs is too low to get anything worthwhile in a trade?
I mean, who was the last team that traded for a running back? I mean, I know we made the move last year for
We did.
Robinson, and
We
and
did.
and
Sixth
it's
round, yeah.
besides that, I can't think. I mean, it's a position that's not of it doesn't have the same value as it once did, and I understand where you're coming from with the value, especially too with the contract, Aaron, about what we're paying this guy. Historically, if you look at the last 10 Super Bowl champions, the most that a running back made. The last 10 teams that won the whole thing was $2 million. Look at Kansas City last year with Pacheco. I think he was making 6, maybe 700 grand, next to nothing. I'm not saying that the running back's not on the field, but it's not your primary weapon on offense. Look at all the money we dished out on Le'Veon Bell, and we ended up getting burned.
Yeah. I mean, no doubt about it. By the way, speaking of the Chiefs, the Michael P. Ryan, I don't know if you saw him running in the game. They've got him on the roster, and he might make it this year. And a blast from the past. But, look, with regard to worrying too much about the running back room, again, it's really about the top 3 guys, right? It's like Breece, and then who else you got? And all of a sudden you got Dalvin Cook. That's exciting as hell. Okay. I mean, I'm not going to get too bent out of shape about Michael Carter. I know he's a fan favorite. I know we love him, but he's another guy on the roster that's a little bit expendable. We got him in North Carolina. He had a really nice rookie year, but even moving into the next year, it was like, let's get another running back. Let's get somebody to replace him. And we did. And clearly he was our number 1. I mean, it's a running back by committee. That's what the league demands right now. Obviously it's a position on the decline. I mean, unless you're an absolute superstar, and to our point, like none of these guys are getting paid anymore. Not a one of them are going to see Zeke money ever again, or at least until the collective bargaining agreement and something else happens and there's some sort of minimum. So I don't want to get bent out of shape about who it is. I think we should just be damn excited that Dalvin Cook is now in the room. And again, we can all sit here and debate to the death, like he's lost the step. He's not the same guy. Does he have the burst? Can he do this? Blah, blah, blah. It doesn't really matter, right? I mean, it's still Breece, who's your number 1 guy. You want him to come back being healthy, and he's ridiculously good, and he's very young and pliable. Like Dalvin Cook is now here to do whatever you need him to do, be number 1 or number 2. That's huge news.
It absolutely is. It's tremendous news, is what it is. Is what's kind of crazy is I just came out with a video today saying, who just made Dalvin Cook expendable? That's the video I put out today. So I think it's kind of funny. Apparently, none of them. I can't get off the thing. I got to tell you, I'm a little concerned and upset too, if it's true and we're right that Breece Hall's not ready. Because as legitimate as I think Dalvin Cook is, I believe that Breece Hall is just so special. And I think that we're so much of a better team with a healthy Breece Hall than any running back that we could have signed. Do you think that should we worry that Breece Hall's not going to be 100% at all this entire season?
I wouldn't be worried. I mean, we just brought in Dalvin Cook, and he's going to be the talk of the town until week 1. I don't think this is going to just put, Breece on the back burner until we know what's really going on with Breece. Now that Dalvin Cook is signed, I don't think you see Cook or Breece in this preseason. Give Carter his touches, give Bam his touches, make them look good. I mean, again, it's like you guys were saying, if you want to stash him on the practice squad and try to save him from, getting scooped up by somebody else, so be it. Go with 3 running backs, put them on the POP list, do whatever you need to do. The depth, I got to say, on this team, not just in the running back room, I mean, it's absolutely insane. I mean, we have to go back and touch base on how we started the video with the offensive line, but I mean, running back, receiver, our defensive line is absolutely insane. I mean, where are we thin? And this is how you build a franchise. There was a point last year we were picking up 6, 7 string guys at certain positions. It's like, where are we going with this?
Yeah. Look, I'm no longer concerned now that we do have Dalvin Cook, and I agree with Vinny and exactly what you're saying. I mean, the depth is there, and it's a long season, right? I mean, I'm not gonna. Yeah, I mean, obviously we want to see Breece come back. We want him healthy. We want him there. Day 1, week 1. Opening game, opening night, Monday night. But if he's not there, and if he wasn't there for the first 6 games, if he wasn't there for the first 8 games, right? And then you did have the running back by committee room, and you had Cook for a period of time. Worry about the back half of the season, right? Can we get out of the first 8 games 6-2 and be dominant? And all of a sudden you've got Breece Hall coming back, for the final 9. Like, it's a long season. You got to play out that whole thing, and you want him to have a long career and put him on that Ring of Honor up in the stadium. And, I'm not worried. I don't, everything is always just now. Not so worried. This is huge news. This is a big signing. He's the right guy to carry the workload he needed to do, because you did worry about it when it was obviously Bam and Izzy and Michael, right? Now you've got that name in the room. And again, even if he's not as advertised as he was, even if he was 70%, 80% of who he's been in his history, you got, Aaron Rodgers is too smart not to use him the way you need to use him in space. And you got a lot of guys who can come in and take the edge off of him for a while. So, I'm not at all worried about Breece. Not anymore. This is huge.
Yeah, and to answer Jets' best question, so here's how it goes. The Jets could activate Breece Hall at any time right now during the preseason. Now, there's a certain date. I believe it's the cut date. If they don't activate him by the cut date, then the minimum is 6 weeks. So he would have to miss the first 6 weeks if they wanted to keep him on the PUP list. Now, even if he's ready week 3, they might decide, you know what? I'd rather put him on the PUP list, and I'd rather have the extra roster spot for 6 full weeks.
Yeah, that's the key.
Give him the extra few weeks and have the extra roster spot until he comes back, because everybody knows by week 6 there's going to be other injuries, and then there are certain roster spots and guys we don't want to cut loose that we'll be able to protect, because there's always going to be someone injured, right? Which will always open up a roster spot. So, there's a management of that game, right, where they play that game. So I think if the reality is, if they're thinking he's not going to be ready till week 3, they certainly might put him on the PUP, just because they value saying, well, do we need him for games 4, 5, or 6? Or would we rather keep a fullback on the roster? Or would we rather keep 4 tight ends? I mean, I think that's the kind of thinking that might go through the minds of the New York Jets. What do you guys think?
Yeah, no doubt about it. And again, to me, it's fine. Keep him on for those 6 weeks if that's what you've got to do. And again, if it keeps that roster spot, because this year, especially when you're trying to do what we're trying to do, get into the playoffs and have that deep run, and it seems very, very viable, every roster spot counts. And it's interesting because, you look at what's going on around us, like for the past decade, let's say, there's always all of these battles in camp. Who's taking this, whatever. But this is the first year in a long time you can remember. You're looking at it and you're like, this is set. This is absolutely set. Your top 40 guys are there, right? So it's really back 12, back 13 that might take up the roster. And even then, not so worried about it. The depth is there. You pretty much know what your 53 looks like. At this point, it's like, are we going to trade Mackay? Are we going to cut Michael Carter? That's about it, right? Is Zach Kuntz going to make the team? Everybody else, you know who's basically taking over the spot. I mean, again, unless we're taking up somebody else, we have our own cut day, and then all of a sudden we look around the league and there's 1 or 2 other guys that we think fit a role pretty well. But yeah, that's about it. I want to dovetail back to something. I mean, this is a good segue now that Cook's here. You're talking about the offensive line. We were just kind of in the middle of it. And obviously, even without Breece or whoever it is, who's got to run through those holes? Who's got to protect Rodgers? Are we concerned about this? Are we just as concerned, or are we less concerned now that Dalvin's here? I'll throw it back to you guys.
I'm concerned about the offensive line, not only for pass protection, but because I want that good running game, right? I want that strong running game. Now, the good news is that even the places where we're weak on the offensive line, the players that we're afraid of, even like, for example, a Max Mitchell is better against the run than he is against the pass. Becton is better against the run than he is against the pass. So I will concede that and say, I think I know where you're going with this. If we have Dalvin Cook now,
I think it's the opposite with Mitchell, though, is it not? I mean, he's been a little bit better showcasing against the pass than he has been with the run. He's been a real problem in the run game on right tackle.
Oh, has he? Okay, my bad. I thought of him as a run blocking guy. I don't know. I think that I think Dalvin Cook still needs a good offensive line to protect him for the running game. But no, I think that if Breece Hall wasn't ready, then Dalvin Cook is going to help what you're saying. I think he's going to help Aaron Rodgers because we could run the ball more with more efficiency, and that will help Aaron Rodgers. It'll help them a lot because they don't know that we're going to pass every play.
Yeah,
they're not. They have to worry more about the explosiveness of a Dalvin Cook for sure.
Well, not just coming out of the backfield. He's an excellent running back going into the flat. So, I mean, if Rodgers finds himself in trouble, he's that good 3rd, 4th option. Look to the flat in the short passing game. It's 3rd and 4, and you find him there. That's your go-to guy.
Yeah. getting back to the O-line for a second, a lot of this to me hinges on Tomlinson. I really feel that way. I mean, the interior of this line, right? I mean, McGovern to me is the ultimate C-, B- minus guy. I've always called him, right? It's like you're never going to get worse than C- out of him, which is not good to begin with, but you're never going to get better than B- out of him. But at least you know where you stand, right? You're not really getting any D or F games out of him. And Tomlinson had a lot of D and F games last year. I mean, on tape, it just wasn't there, and it wasn't there prior. Prior to that, he was certainly a B+ player. So let's see him just get back into the Bs, and you're going to have a very, very different feel and look on that. Dwayne Brown is a professional. Even at 38, 39 years old, he's a huge, strong guy. And even if he's not who he was, and we know that he's still going to be decent enough on that left side that you should feel confident that he's got the blind side. It really comes down to the right side because ABT in that spot, we're all excited about to see him get back on the field. Who is manning that right tackle position? And Becton should be there, but he can't trust his knee, and he doesn't want to do it. You could see it. He's like, I'm not comfortable. That's where I got hurt, and I just want to play left tackle. And it's hard to blame him on all of this. I mean, everybody wants him to just say, shut up and go over to right tackle and all of that, but he doesn't have the same feeling in his knee. It's a very different position to play. If he's not feeling it on that knee, it's hard to just want him over there. And you want him as a security blanket and left tackle in case something happens to Dwayne. What are you doing at right tackle? Mitchell and Turner are not up to the task. What are we doing over there?
Well, the rumor is Turner. I hate that. I think they need to move Becton over to the right side like yesterday. I think he needs to start taking snaps at right tackle because they know Dwayne Brown's coming back. I think you have to start preparing Becton to play right tackle because he's the only solution we have there other than moving ABT, which I don't want to do. I believe I do want to say I think that Lakin Tomlinson, he had a very difficult offseason last year. There were a lot of factors. He had a very close personal loss in his family. His wife and kid weren't there, and he's a family guy. So, I believe, and just regression to the mean, right? I mean, you have a guy who played at Pro Bowl level for years. It's a regression to the mean. I mean, you can't imagine in your head that it would be as bad as last year. You think that
you saw what happened to him early in his career. I mean, he really started with Detroit and washed out there, right? It was, of course, the Shanahan tree again that they brought him in, and he became the player that he was over in San Francisco. And then all of a sudden, he was that great. And to the point, he doesn't have to be a Pro Bowl level player, but he really, really regressed just a little too much for all of our comfort last year. And to your point, by the way, terrible tragedy in his family a couple of years ago. To your point, in the offseason, he did not have his wife and kids. He's a big family guy. Heart goes out to him. You want to love him. He wears the jersey. You want to embrace him and know that he's there. But he's got to be up to the task. Very, very, very important that he plays well and gels with the rest of the line. Because again, then you just want to feel good about the interior. So again, I'd kick AVT out to the right. If it's not working with Billy Turner and Max Mitchell, do it. Do what you got to do. You got enough guys. You got Schweitzer. You got Cologne. You got a few other guys. Even moving McGovern over there and putting Tiplin in the center. If obviously if Rodgers is okay with it, and not necessarily that he wants a rookie out there, but if this is working and he's your guy, you got options. You got to do it. You cannot go out there with these two guys as your starting right tackle.
I think moving McGovern over, if AVT goes to the right, I hope and pray they just move McGovern over because he'll be fine at guard. He'll be average at worst, I think. Just like you said, I think it's the same as center. I don't think you're going to go below C- on that. Mm-hmm. And from what I'm watching, Tippmann is a better center. I understand that that he's a rookie. I understand there's more risk, but there's a lot more upside. And I'm saying he's a better center just from I understand he's not playing against the ones per se, but when I watch McGovern, when I watch the condensed replay of the last game, just like you're saying, McGovern is what he is. But Tippmann was moving people 5 yards backwards. And I have no problem. I mean, and you're right, Rodgers got to approve it probably, but I have no problem. Like as a fan, I'd be excited if I saw Tippmann come in at center. You move McGovern over to right guard. You have AVT swing out to right tackle. If Dwayne Brown is healthy, Lakin, that's my offensive line, and I'd run with that all day.
I think it's important, too, that whatever 5 guys that you put out there, you stick with them. This team led the National Football League in offensive line combinations, and that's totally unacceptable. I mean, Saleh said it himself in one of his more recent press conferences. We're going to put the best 5 guys out there, and that's fine. I hope that's the case. As far as the right side goes, is Becton a pure right tackle? No, he's not. He first came out at the start of the season and said, well, I'm a left tackle. Now he's starting to say the right thing. Well, I'll do whatever they ask me to do. I want him out there, but if he can't do it, I don't like the idea of Turner. He's had a very rough preseason. Max Mitchell, I like, but is he a starting caliber NFL right tackle? I just don't see it. AVT is like the Joe Klecko of our time on the offensive side of the ball. He's played left tackle, right tackle, both guards, with the exception of center. If they asked him to play center, I'm sure he could come up, be up to the task. With that said, if that means he's got to go out to the right side and do it, so be it. The thing I like about these offensive linemen that Joe Douglas has brought in, they're very versatile. AVT, like I just said, McGovern from his Denver days, he went back and forth between center and right guard. So if we have to put Tittman out there at center, which is what I want, you took him in the second round and drafted him because you believed in him. He should be our starting center of the future. Even McGovern said, they told me when I was going to be brought back, they were going to draft a kid here to take my spot. And I think that says a lot about McGovern saying he still wanted to come back and be a part of this squad. So you know what? I would think it's going to be Brown at left tackle, pending, of course, he's going to be healthy. I hope to God he can go 17 games. I think Tomlinson can bounce back. He had a rough year. There's a couple things going on with his life. He's changing from, going to his third team, new system. Tittman at center. Right guard would be McGovern. And like I said, I have no issue AVT going to the right side.
Vinny, I loved all of that. I took a lot out of it, but you know what I took most from that diatribe? AVT, the Joe Klecko of our time. I love that, man. Putting that on a T-shirt. Get that on a bumper sticker immediately.
That's really awesome and so true when you think about it. It's like we had Klecko, all over the defensive line, and now we got our AVT all over the offensive line. It's truly remarkable what he did. I'm glad Salah pointed it out. Because a lot of people, we loved it at the time. We said this guy's great, but I love that not the fans, but a coach at a press conference pointed out how incredibly special it was and how unique it is that you have a player that can do what he did last year. It's remarkable. The level he played, and he was literally switching positions on the offensive line week to week, is just outrageous. It's outrageous.
It's unheard of. It's unheard of. And to do it to success the way he was doing it, it's unheard of.
I got a better word for it. Heroic. The kid should be a captain this year. He should absolutely be a captain on the off. If they have two offensive captains, Rodgers is a given. The other should be AVT.
Yeah, it makes me think of Magic Johnson, who played center and started at center for the Lakers in a final team. The guy could play. The guy was a point guard who could play center. He could play any position on the court. Well, he's the Magic Johnson of the Jets offensive line. But I like the Joe Klecko one better because it's so right spot on. It's just so perfect because it's what Joe Klecko did for us. So it's great. Anyway, for anybody who joined, if you're joining, you probably know the news. Dalvin Cook is signed with the Jets. It's up to $8.5 million or so, or something like that. So it's not even a guaranteed $8.5 million. It's for 1 year, so we're not locked in or committed to him. But we now have, I guess we could breathe a sigh of relief as far as not worrying about what happens if Dalvin Cook, if Breece Hall is not ready. If Breece Hall is not ready, that's okay. We got Dalvin Cook, and I don't think any NFL football team or any NFL fan that's been paying attention would consider Dalvin Cook a weakness at running back. I'm waiting for Vinny to say, well, actually, I'm not a big fan of Dalvin Cook.
Did I not listen on one of our prior shows? I said flat out, listen, do I want Dalvin Cook on this team? 100%. He only makes you better. If we weren't able to be fortunate enough to land Dalvin Cook, listen, I love the running back room we have here between Breece, Izzy, and Carter. At this point, it's a luxury. It just makes this team so much better on offense. And Dalvin Cook is going to be an awesome voice in that running back room, especially even in the huddle.
Do you think there's a possibility they do an as-need basis? Meaning, let's say we're rolling. Let's say we're 4-2 after those first really rough 6 games. And let's say Breece technically could go, but it's well understood it would be safer and probably smarter to wait another month. Right?
I'd wait. Why would you screw up a good thing? The team that's winning, you never change. If things are rolling and these guys are hitting on all centers, absolutely. And I would keep the things just the way they are. I mean, like I said, the squad that wins together stays together. I would keep everything rolling. You still dress the guy. Emergencies happen. Injuries happen all the time. But I mean, like I said, the money that he's commanding now, it's evident. He's going to be RB1. I think there was a little disagreement with the holdup with the deal with what exactly Cook's role would be on the team. I don't know if that's carries. I don't know if that's playing time. But you know what I mean? Like I said, when you're paying that kind of money, I think he's on the field.
Mr.
Well, it's
Feige?
up to $8.3 million. I mean, let's see what the baseline is. And again, you're not paying him franchise tag money. You're not 10 million plus like a lot of these other guys who are in that tier are getting right now. So whatever the usage is, and again, we do have all this extra cash all of a sudden because Rodgers made one of the most insane givebacks of money that any of us in our lifetime could possibly imagine. And we should talk about that. Jeremy, I'm just throwing that out there if you want to circle back. But hey, this is your show. You tell me what the topics are. Getting back to Breece. You want to know, I mean, should we keep him in the garage if ultimately things are rolling and all of that? That's going to be hard to do. You know, when you're literally sitting on a souped up Lamborghini and it's a full tank in there, you know, it's going to be hard to keep him. You get him on the field. I mean, you're only going to be better by committee by getting your absolute top end player on the field. And he really is. I mean, if you're looking at your offensive weaponry, I mean, you know, he's it. You know, before Garrett stepped in and took over offensive player of the year, I mean, it was clear Breece was literally running away with it before he got hurt, and probably would have sewed that position, sewed that trophy up. So it's going to be hard to keep him on the field. You know, again, keeping him off for the first 6 weeks, I'm with you. If he's technically ready to go, and he's absolutely, and you feel like he's 100%, I'd throw him in the mix. If there's any question about it, and you want to just shelve him another month, sure, I'm with you on that too.
And you could always use him like the first game he's back as a RB3, like where he comes in.
That's a given. You can almost guarantee, right, that whoever the first 1, 2, 3 games back, I mean, how many touches is he really going to see? You know, you might give the guy 4, 6, 8 inches those first couple of games, and that should be fine, right? I mean, if you have these running backs, everybody should be happy with that, and that'd be just fine. See how he's doing.
Yeah, and I agree with you. Before the injury, you know, I said when he was drafted during the preseason, I got pounded by some people because I kept saying, there's something special about this guy. I think he could be one of those premier type guys, like be up there with names like Adrian Peterson and, you know, and I was naming everybody, Emmitt Smith, James, you know, and Gary and James, and people were like, you're crazy, he hasn't played. I said, look, I understand he hasn't played an NFL snap yet. It's just a gut feeling. And I think he could be one of those guys. And there's this like Jet mentality that it's never us, or there's never a belief that good things can happen. By the time he got to that injury, by the time we got into that game, I am 100% convinced, and I'm pretty confident he's going to heal fine because he's young enough to completely recover from this injury, that he really is that level of player. Like he is like a premier running back, not just a top 10 running back. He's like Henry. He is a premier guy. Like he might have a career like an Adrian Peterson, like an Emmitt Smith. He might end up having that kind of career. And you're right. I mean, that's why when I don't mean to not act excited about Dalvin Cook. I understand he's really good and he gives us this insurance, this great insurance. But part of me is still always going to be disappointed anytime Breece Hall's not on the field because I think he's a franchise-altering running back.
Well, look, the NFL, I mean, it's a certain time of year. It's once a week, and every one of those games we live and die, and by the second and the minute and all of that. But again, you want to think about the longevity. You want this guy to have an 8, 10, 12-year career in a uniform. We all have to take that step back and just say, it's okay. He got hurt last year, whether it's game 4, whether it's game 6, whether it's game 9 this year, or even game 1, right? It's like, it's okay. He'll get back on the field when he gets back on the field. We will have him, and we want him to be healthy moving forward because exactly what you just said, Jeremy, all that excitement and the potential he has to be one of these all-timers, because he really does. He showed it as a rookie, and I'm agreeing with you. It was all there. It's all there on tape. Anybody can go back and watch and get excited about it. They can watch him, at a nose for the end zone at Iowa State. He was unbelievable, right? Broke records there. So it's like, yes, but we got to take that breath, and we say if it's year 3 or year 4 or year 5, that's going to be just as good too, because not we don't want to wait until year 5, but I'm saying like it's okay if we're waiting till year 3 to have to see it again. It's not the end of the world. We have options, and we've got Rodgers under center. We've got offensive weaponry. It's okay. We're not living and dying on Breece Hall, and we all want to see him have that 8-year career, and all of us just beyond excited that he racked up 12,000 yards over that career.
Yeah.
The front office absolutely thought the world of Breece Hall. I don't know, for those of us that are watching One Jets Drive, and the way like this scouting department really just like looks over the talent at the collegiate level at all different parts of the country. The team that really, or the group of guys, I'm sorry, my phone is blowing up with this Dalvin Cook news. I mean, when they thought so highly of him, they were trying to trade back up into the first round a 4th time to try to. That's how badly they wanted him. And by the good graces, we still had to trade up to get him, but it was at the top of the 2nd round. And thankfully, it worked itself out. But I mean, it just goes to show. I mean,
can we say something that Bijan Robinson and Jahmyr Gibbs should be thanking Breece Hall again, right? Because the running backs were really falling down the board, and this year alone, more than, you know what I'm saying? Like, you could say those two guys benefited from every NFL team being reminded, oh yeah, top end guy, we should probably go have one of those on our team as well. So let's get those guys back in the first round, because they could have easily fallen a lot further down the board, which is what was happening in the NFL until everybody saw how good Breece was.
And we were actually seconds away from making a play from Gibson. Then when Detroit got wind of it, they went ahead and took him. But he almost ended up becoming a Jet. So can you imagine we would have had him and Breece, and none of this Cook news is a thing going on.
Would have been unbelievable.
Outrageous. So you had something you wanted to talk about before, a topic you wanted to cover, and
are you saying to me?
Yeah, and it escaped my head.
No, I'm talking about Rodgers. I think it's worth circling back. I mean, there's a 2 thing going on here with Rodgers, right? That, I mean, of all the storylines, and there's a million of them, and we're watching a love affair play out on Hard Knocks, and it's one. Let's see how the rest of the episodes look. But it's like, number one, it was, hey, let's go manifest getting Aaron Rodgers on our team, and somehow we did, and that was incredible and surreal. And he got on the Pat McAfee show and said, my intention is to play for the New York Jets, and all of us just immediately fell back in our chairs. Like, are you serious? But number 2 is the giving back of the money, because again, when he said yes to it, and when he wanted to come over, my first thought was, immediately I was like, well, what's the contract going to look like? I wasn't worried so much about the draft capital, right? Like, it was like, we're going to give up something and it's probably going to equal out, and some people are going to think it's bad, some people are just going to think it's good. I ultimately think it was fine what we did. It was right on par for what it should be for him. 2 years removed from 2 MVPs, ridiculous that, it could have been more, believe me. But it was, hey, you just signed the worst contract in the history of the NFL, and the Packers let you do it. Why'd you do that? Why'd you want him to do that? And I want to hear from you guys as to like why that even came to be. And then he comes over on the idea of like, okay, well, we got to renegotiate this. We got to look at this. And I don't think any of us were thinking he was going to give back money in some capacity. $35 million. We should all be just on our knees, thankful to heavens. I mean, in today's sporting landscape, what that looks like and what that affords you as a fan. And to have a guy who's just like, hey, you did right by me, I'm giving that back. I mean, anybody who's in Packers world has just got to be like forever spurned by that. And all they're looking at it like this is, and it's not $3.5 million to make up a little bit of like massage to somebody's contract and eke some $35 million in guaranteed money. What are we talking about here? How is that even possible? Why?
I mean, he could have rescheduled at $42 million. And we all would have been thrilled with that. Like, oh, it's $42 million. Wow. Well, think of it. We just got Dalvin Cook and Aaron Rodgers for $42 million. I mean, that's the kind of thinking. That's the kind of thing it does when a quarterback is willing to do what Aaron Rodgers did for the team.
Yeah.
Because
why do you think? What do you think happened with the Packers initially, right? I mean, again, that contract that they gave him, which was just ludicrous in the back end, and what they'd be on the hook for if he did retire with them, and obviously him signing it for that 3-year deal, which there was no way they could fit Adams under the cap with that, and they had to get rid of him and take their 2 first-round picks. I mean, what do we think here? What happened there, and why was it so poisonous on that side of the fence? And then he comes to our side of the fence, and it is just absolutely like beyond benevolent to give back $35 million. Why? Why did these things happen?
Well,
Because-
a couple things with Green Bay, though. Just like look at it from Aaron's perspective. What did they do to help him succeed? He's more than a decade removed from that Super Bowl that he ended up winning there in Green Bay. Mind you, he had to do it the hard way on the road. But I mean, the last few years when he was there, they unloaded Devontae Adams. And yeah, they got good draft capital. But if you look at the history of the Green Bay Packers, since Aaron was there, they never drafted a receiver in the first round. Then on top of that, when they go ahead and a couple of years ago, they're in the first round. What do? They move up and they trade. They move up and they draft your heir. How does that make the team better right now? If anything, it's like saying we're preparing for life after you. Well, if that's the case, I would have said get rid of me now. Get rid of me now. Because the way the NFL is structured with the salary cap and the guarantees or whatnot, nowadays they say your best opportunity to win the Super Bowl is when your quarterback is on their rookie contract. Because once the quarterback gets paid, you're going to start losing pieces. And it's very, very hard when you're paying a guy 35, 36, 37, whatever, $1 million.
Yeah, well, I think they said that, and I agree with you. I mean, there's still a little bit of talk about that, but it seemed to be more like 5 years or the past ago when that was more the conversation. I mean, the cap has moved up enough and is consistently moving up enough that you can pay Herbert and Mahomes and Jackson, these guys in the 50th range, even with the guaranteed money, and still fill out enough and get there each year. It really depends. I mean, look, when you got a guy like Patrick Mahomes, you're just going to potentially get there anyway. We're going to see what happens with Philadelphia. You just paid Hurts his money. Let's see with his contract, or you paid Lamar his money, or Herbert his money. Let's see what ultimately happens there with those teams. But look, they're all in the mix as of now. They're obviously prepared, and can make those deep runs.
Yeah. Now,
I think what also. Do you want to go, Jeremy?
Yeah, I was just going to say that based going back to what you said. Talking to a diehard Green Bay fan who's part of my family, the moment they traded up and drafted Jordan Love without telling him, that's the key thing. Without telling him, because you get to a point in your career in that position as a quarterback when you become that important to the franchise, where the expectation is that they are going to be included in the big decisions. Look at what the Jets have done. So he's been punishing them since that moment. Yeah. He's been punishing them. They no longer were family to him.
That's such a great point, Jeremy. I mean, do you think that's what that was? Do you think that contract was a punishment?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because they weren't family anymore. And he said it when he was on Pat's show. He said, none of the guys who drafted me are left. These aren't the guys who drafted me. These aren't the people who welcomed me in. Like, he said it. He used the words. So basically, the hometown discount, the family discount went away. And he said, now it's a business for me. The Jets bring him in. Look how the Jets are treating him. Do you think the Jets would make that kind of decision without telling him? It's all about ego. It's all about pride, but not even in a bad way. It's about respect. It's about, I've earned something that was given to Tom Brady. I've earned something that was given to Drew Brees, that was given to Peyton Manning. Why isn't this organization giving me the same respect as every great future Hall of Fame quarterback gets when they're in their mid-30s? That's what I think it was about.
I love that word, because that's really what it comes down to for me. It's like any relationship, right? I mean, you think about an adult relationship between, two consenting adults. It's like if you put somebody on a pedestal, which is almost kind of what they did in the reverse, right? And then they were like, hey, we drafted your heir because we think you're gonna, it's time, we're gonna ultimately move off from you, and you're on the other side of 35. You're going to fall off. Oh, you just won 2 MVPs. Now we got to put you up on this pedestal. We want you to be here and be the, longtime hero, but we need to know what we got Jordan Love. And then it's like, let's just throw all this insane money at you. And then he's like, how about you throw even more money at me? And they're like, okay, we're going to do that. And then he's like, great, I'm going to sign that contract. Which again, people need to understand how egregious the contract was that he signed for 3 years. It pontooned anything they could have potentially done. It hamstrung them from whatever. And he released the Jets from that burden and then some, and then went 100 miles in the other direction from it. And it really comes down to what you're talking about, Jeremy. It's just a level of respect. You make such great points about why he did that. It's insane.
I have my moments.
You know what I was gonna say, guys? I think what really helped us out was when we first did those joint practices with the Green Bay Packers, and he got to get a feel for Coach Saleh and this team and the roster. Then we played them later that year, and we just beat the brakes off of them. You heard it in his voice when they asked him, how does it feel? You played at home, and the Jets just beat up on you, and he's like, well, why are you saying that? He goes, they have good weapons, they have a good coach. They got playmakers on the offensive. I think there's this misconception out there that there's this bad team that we lost to because they're the Jets. And when I was watching that post game on SNY at the time, I was like, why is this guy complimenting the hell out of this team? Why? It's like the wheels started turning in his head. And if you look at the schedule last year, the way things fell apart, I think on one hand we lost at 5-6 games by a touchdown or less. And he's like, if I go to this team, I think Aaron Rodgers is worth more than a touchdown or two at the end of the game. We could have easily been an 11 or 12 team had we had competent quarterback play. And now you're bringing in a four-time NFL MVP, former Super Bowl champion. This is going to reverse our fortunes 110%.
So we have Jake Assman said it was $7 million guaranteed, which is surprising when you talk about 8.3. I thought there'd be a bigger gap in the guarantee and the incentive, but $7 million is fine. It's funny because I heard at one point we were offering 6 and he was asking 8. So it's like,
well, with these guys, it all comes down to the guaranteed money. That's what he was more concerned about. It's the guaranteed money for these guys. Whether or not they hit the incentives, I don't think they really care. At this time, he picked the Jets because he wants to win a Super Bowl. I mean, when you look at the Jets roster and what were we playing up against? Miami, the Pats. Do they really have Super Bowl caliber rosters? The Patriots should be in the basement of the AFC East. Everybody knows it. It's no secret. Belichick's on his way out. I wouldn't be shocked if this is his last year or maybe one more year if he's trying to chase the all-time record. And as far as Miami goes, I like their receiving core. I like their cornerback tandem. I think their Achilles heel is the quarterback because I don't see Tua playing 17 games. I just don't see it.
Yeah, I'm not ready to put the Patriots in the grave just yet. They got a top 5 defense. That's just the reality of it. And they still got Belichick. And if he's on his game and he knows what he's doing and he's outsmarting the other coach and he's playing chess and he's engaged, he's worth 3 to 4 wins alone per year. So wouldn't surprise me to see the Patriots sneak in with something like 10 or even 11 wins this year if Matt comes back at all being okay. So I'm not right. And maybe that's just the little brother Jet fan in me that's looking up at them and just worried about how good they are. We all know that they should be the 7-10 team and they should be in quote unquote the basement, but I'm not ready to put them there. I think the AFC East, I mean, for all intents and purposes, like this is the year, man. This is exciting as hell for anyone, any of our fan bases. We're all looking at this like it's up for grabs. That's just the reality. But the Bills are far away, nowhere even close to running away with this thing. We know that they do have, that exciting quarterback with the upside, and he's unbelievable at this point. We get that, but they've got their problems too. We have a better defense. I think we've got the best defense in the AFC East. Look, but you've got 4 good teams and 4 coaches who are hungry in their own right for different reasons. So it's interesting to see, but it's like, I think we got a good shot at winning it this year.
I will never write off Bill Belichick for being a playoff team.
Ever.
I will never write him off for being a playoff team. I mean, he did it not last season, but the season before it. How did he do it with that roster? I mean, it's always a possibility.
Yeah, but they don't have just a top 10 or 15 defense. They really do have a top 5 defense.
Right.
Good this year. That's scary.
No, they have an excellent defense. I honestly believe that we're going to be battling Philadelphia and San Francisco for the number 1 defense in the NFL. I really believe that. And I believe that our defensive line might be epic. Like I think that things might happen this year that we haven't seen since 1983, 82.
Let's hope so. I mean, well, look, this is where it comes down to like what Saleh's mixing. I mean, we're going to find out if this guy can coach or not really this year, right? If his situational football is there, if what he can do. But man, this guy had a vision and he quickly put it in place. Give me the wide 9, give me the cover 3, give me the wide 9, give me the cover 3. And his pieces that are in place right now, the guys on this roster to do just that, it's off the charts. There's no question we could be a top 3 defense.
Another thing I want to just point out about the Dalvin Cook, just going back to that for a second, that's really, really good for us that we should all be, I think about and keep in mind is that it's a 1-year deal. And what does that mean to Dalvin Cook? Because Dalvin Cook probably wants another contract next year, whether it's with us or not. And Dalvin Cook definitely understands, and if he doesn't, his agent is telling him that his performance is going to impact what that contract looks like. Aside from the fact that if his performance helps us win a Super Bowl, we all know that free agents that come off Super Bowl teams statistically get more money than they would normally get if they were coming off a team that didn't win the Super Bowl. So we have a guy that's going to be playing really, really hard, who has a lot to play for. This is not the guy in the middle of a $10, $15 million a year contract. This is a guy who's in a contract year. He's coming here in a contract year. So I think we should be excited about that too, because I think we're going to get the best of him. Because that's an incentive. That's a motivation that's in anybody. When you know, I don't know where I'm going to be next year. I don't know how much I'm going to get paid. I'm going to freaking work out. I'm going to train. I'm going to do everything in my power to be as good as possible so I can get another 7 million or 8 million, maybe even lock in a guarantee of 2 years.
Oh, yeah. No, there's no question about it. It's a great point. I mean, he's got to go out there and produce. He's got to show at 29, heading into 30 years old, that he still has that in the tank if he's going to go get another 2-year contract somewhere. And obviously what's happened to the running back market, this works in our favor. Just another peg in the hole, and however you want to call it, for the Jets. I mean, a lot of things are lining up in our favor this year.
Yeah.
It's our year. It's our turn, man. And it's about time. But it's even more than that, right? It's more than just sniffing the playoffs. It's like top 7 quarterback of all time. And this guy looks rejuvenated. And he is out there doing everything he's supposed to be doing, taking care of this team. I mean, there's a lot to get excited for. You really, at this point, you got to expect a winning record. We all have to expect Super Bowl. I mean, again, you throw that word around. Everybody throws that word around. It's hard, obviously, to get back there and be that team that's the one that gets in. I mean, unless you're the absolute dominant favorite, and every once in a while that happens, no one is even close to that. And you've got a lot of teams. Last year, you looked around the league and you're hard pressed to find 8 teams, with the offensive weaponry. Now you're looking at 15, 16 teams. You can say they've all got the offense. Who's got the good defense? Who's got the good coaching? But playoffs or bust, that's for sure.
I think they have to make some serious noise if they get there. We all hope and pray that we win the AFC East. It's only been 20 years, and needless to say, to think I was a 16-year-old kid at the last playoff game, and now that I'm 37, that sounds worse. I'd like to get a home playoff game and wild card, maybe dare I say possibly the bye, but you can't sell me on them squeaking into the playoffs as the 6th or 7th seed and then be one and done. You make power moves like that, trading for an Aaron Rodgers, now signing a Dalvin Cook. Not only should they be shooting to win the AFC East, I think they got to win at least one playoff game to show that the plan that they put into place 3 years ago when they brought in Coach Saleh and his staff has come to fruition. And if even maybe make that deep run, I'm not ready to crown them and say we're going to go on a Super Bowl run. I'm not. But I'm saying if you go at least to the AFC title game, and let's say you go to Arrowhead and lose, I wouldn't call the season a failure. I wouldn't. But then you get the band back together for Aaron Rodgers, year 2, a year, a second year with a new team. Then you really make a run for it.
Yeah. Payo Time says, raise your hand if you. He says, old time Jets have compared Rodgers to Joe Namath. I have to say, I don't see any comparison between them. I think they're very different people, very different players on the field. I didn't watch Joe Namath a ton. I've only seen a lot of film on him, but personality-wise, I don't think you could be that much more different. And if you ask me what made Joe Namath great, I wouldn't say it was the same things as I would say for Aaron Rodgers. Joe Namath was charismatic and he was a leader, and he made the people around him believe in him. Whereas Aaron Rodgers, while he is a good leader, and you could tell he's doing it as a veteran, but his main thing is he's just the most accurate quarterback to ever play football. He has the best touchdown to interception ratio in the history of the NFL. Whereas Joe Namath didn't. He just was a crazy personality, and he made people believe they could be better than they were. So I don't compare them. I think it's very different. But the one thing I hope they both have in common is they get us that Lombardi trophy.
You notice I didn't raise my hand. I mean, I've never compared Rodgers to Joe Namath. Joe Namath obviously is of course we're always gonna revert back to him, and there's a place in all of our hearts as Jets fans forever. But you're talking about Aaron Rodgers. I'm sorry to say, nobody puts Joe Namath in the top 30 quarterbacks of all time. I mean, he's exciting in what he did, and to your point, a leader, and he's got a fun book if you ever want to pick that up and read through that. But it's Aaron Rodgers. He is a top 7 quarterback in the history of the National Football League. He's a living legend, and he's still doing it. And we're expecting him to have another 2 or 3 year run with us. It's incomparable.
I think with Namath, and obviously that was before my time, but I did read that Namath book. For anyone that doesn't know, that's an excellent read. And just the thing with Joe Namath back in the 60s, playing in New York City, coming from Alabama, he had swagger to him. And then going into that Super Bowl game as an 18.5-point underdog, and then to come on, proclaim the guarantee is like, it was a different era back then. You never trash talk the other team. It didn't happen. And then to go out and then deliver on that promise, it made him a legend. I mean, here we are 5+ decades later and still talking about Joe Namath. Fast forward to the present with Aaron Rodgers. Yes, Rodgers won a Super Bowl in Green Bay. Oh, whoop-de-doo. But it's different when you win in the biggest media market in the world. If he wins 1 here, and I know the Giants have 4 Lombardi trophies, and there's no disrespect to that, but to deliver it to a team that's been starved like we have, it would be on the same level as winning 3 out in Wisconsin. That's what a big deal it was. Or is going to be, excuse me, if he can bring a Lombardi to the Jets. I mean, can you imagine that parade on Broadway the Tuesday after the Super Bowl? It would be insane.
No, it would put him on the Mount Rushmore of quarterbacks. I mean, you think about who's there now, right? 4 guys. There's 4 guys on Mount Rushmore. I don't know who you put on there, but to me, it's very clearly in order: Brady, Peyton, and Montana. Those are the top 3. So who really claims that 4th spot right now? You got a lot of guys and a lot of conversation after that who you think you could put on there. I mean, I have my idea of who I'd put at number 4, not worth talking about right now, but like a lot of guys are otherwise interchangeable. I mean, are you a Breeze fan? Are you a Marino fan? Are you a Favre fan? Are you a Rodgers fan? I mean, whatever it may be, and then say, oh, like that's my guy, whoever you want to say, but it would cement him undoubtedly and put him on there forever. His face would be ingrained.
So I know you have to go, but I want to make sure before you just have to run, that you have an opportunity to tell people where to find you, because my viewers might not know you. So I want you to be able to tell them where they can find you. And before you go, also tell you how much I appreciate you coming on the show and how I look forward to you coming back on sometime in the future.
Well, first of all, thank you both, Jeremy and Vinny, for having me on the show. Really enjoyed this. I wish I could stay longer. I could seriously sit here. I'm sure we all could for another hour or 2. I mean, we barely even scratched the surface on what's going on with the team right now. So I hope you guys stick around and have that conversation. But again, thank you for having me. I'd come back anytime. AM Pfeffer, NYJ Ground Crew, at NYJ Ground Crew. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, please. Follow us on Twitter at NYJ Ground Crew. And again, really appreciate the time, guys. I'd love to come back.
All right. Well, you're certainly invited to. We'll be in touch. And everybody, make sure you go over and you subscribe. You saw it. He's the goods. So make sure you check it out. And we'll be in touch. Thanks, buddy.
Thank you again, Aaron.
Thank you. Talk to you guys.
Take care. And all right. So, wow, I didn't expect that. I didn't expect the Dalvin Cook news to happen while I was in the show. I'm not shocked that it happened. I know a lot of people were saying, oh, it didn't happen. It's done. It's not happening. And everybody forgets who our general manager is. Yeah. Everybody forgets every time. He does not impulsively jump into things. And that's what happened. And we see it again. We see that JD will not. He sticks to his value system. Like, it's just, this is where he is. And he may have budged a little bit, though. He may have budged a little bit. Like, for all we know, there may have been some Breece Hall news. We don't know. We'll never know, maybe. But there may have been Breece Hall news. It's possible. It's possible he tried something today, came up to them and said, I felt a twitch in my knee, or it happened a day ago or 2 days ago. And he might say, I'm fine. Doctor said I'm okay. But they all got scared. Like, we don't know.
No, we don't. But, you know, I think it's a couple things. Like you said, I think JD budged a little bit. Perfect example, the Rodgers trade, when we all said that a number 1 pick is not on the table. It's off the table. It's off the table. And then there was like, okay, it's a conditional 2 that we all know is going to end up becoming a 1. All right, let's just get this deal done and move forward. As far as this Cook news, I think a lot of it has to do with Ezekiel Elliott getting off the market earlier today and landing in New England. And, the running back market, it's starting to dry up. So it's like, listen, the guy was here. We had an awesome meeting. We like him. He likes us. Rodgers wants him. You want your quarterback at the end of the day to be happy. Let's just give him whatever extra we need to just get this over with and get him into camp.
Yeah. So now the big question is going to be, what is our roster going to look like now? I have to say, what's really should be scary for the rest of the NFL is the one thing I think we could agree on is when it comes to coming out of the backfield as a receiver, Dalvin Cook is at another level than anyone we had on our roster.
I think Dalvin Cook is going to be the best running back on this team. I don't want to say Bell because he's not really a Jet, but could arguably be as good as Curtis Martin in his prime. That's how special Dalvin Cook is. And yeah, you heard it here first in the lounge. And I don't like to throw out Curtis's name out there unless it's not necessary, but this is extremely exciting news. And guess what? If you try to buy anything from the Jets shop tomorrow when his jersey goes on sale, don't be surprised if the site crashes, because that's what's going to happen.
Okay. I have to see him on the Jets before I start uttering the words Curtis Martin, but I appreciate your enthusiasm and your excitement. And I think that it's not hitting me. I go back and forth on them, but I did, it's hard. It's hard not to. Obviously, a few weeks ago, I went on and I searched on YouTube and I typed in Dalvin Cook highlights, and it's hard not to watch those and get excited, right? I mean, they're the highlights, but there were some highlights where it was like, wow, like he could really.
He runs angry. That's what I admire about it. He runs angry. And the thing is your running back is only as good as your offensive line. And, that's the one thing, like we touched base on at the start of the show, is just like, how is this offensive line going to look? So to Coach Benton, to Coach Saleh, whoever makes the final call with this line, Coach Hackett, how could I forget him? The 5 guys that they put out there, week 1, Monday Night Football versus Buffalo, I hope to God that's the same 5 guys week 17. That's what I want to see.
Twisted's giving me a hard time. I'm sorry, Twisted. It was a special time to accommodate our guest who we really wanted on the show. So
we've been working on him for almost a month, and Aaron's a really good guy. I like him a lot. And just guys, everybody, please go give him a shout out and subscribe to NYJ Ground Crew. Awesome dude to talk football with.
Yeah, so so distracting when something like that happens. It's incredible. It also like every single Jets YouTube content provider jumped online. So like,
my phone is blowing up from all my buddies and my coworkers as I'm trying to do the show. It's just like, oh, are you excited? Well, I can't really talk about it right now. So I don't know. But I'm sure I'm going to be up with this all night with all the alerts, all the texts, all the notifications. This is all you're going to hear about on Sports Chat Radio tomorrow on WFAN. Jeremy, I don't know what's your station out on the West Coast, but ESPN, WFAN, SNY. This is all you're going to hear for at least until the next preseason game when we line up against the Bucs this weekend.
Well, look, it's super, super exciting. I don't know how football ready he is. I mean,
he's gonna be fine. There is no way they're gonna trot him out there in shoulder pads and a helmet in these preseason games. But I'm telling you, how cool is it gonna be Saturday versus the Bucs? He will be on the sideline with a Jets cap on. It's like the first time you saw Rodgers wearing that Jets hoodie walking into Florham Park.
Well, how about this? How about if he trots onto that field? How about if he trots into that press conference wearing a Jets lounge shirt? Because
Goodness,
it might happen. Because, by the way, everybody, he owns one. It was sent to him. So, and he received it. He is in possession of a Jets Lounge polo shirt. And I don't know if he'll really do it or not. I know our guy Steve is probably working him to do it. But if he shows up on that podium in a press conference wearing a Jets Lounge shirt.
Good God.
The Jets Lounge, baby. Because that'll be big time. Anyway, I want to say there's a super chat. So here we go. Allison Tuckwab. I don't know if you're new to the channel, but welcome. Aaron Rodgers, because he's getting 49. Hold on 1 second. Am I seeing this right? He's getting 49 this year, not being rude, but I'd like to see him steer the team on the side being a coach. Well, he's turning 40. That's just 49, right? My eyesight is like crap.
No, he's getting 40. I don't know what you mean by that, Allison. He's getting 49?
He's getting 35 million. I think she
he's 39 now. He turns 40 in December. That I know for a fact.
Right. Turns 40 in December. Was the MVP 2 out of the last 3 years. Just literally last year still was better than any Jets quarterback that we've ever had. Pretty much. I mean, when's the last time we had a quarterback go 26 touchdowns, 12 interceptions? Like even in his worst year, it's a career year for other guys. So I have to disagree with you. I love him as a on the field coach. I agree with you that he probably has as much value almost as a coach on the field.
I was just going to say that.
Does as a talent. Like I agree with that, but I certainly don't want him sitting on the sidelines holding a book while Zach Wilson takes the snaps. So I don't know if you're a Jet fan, but like what you have to understand is whether he's in his prime or not, whether he has the best season, even if he just is what he was last season, that's still so much better than what we had last year. So when you look at the team last year healthy that was 7-3, and you think about that team with a better quarterback, even if he's just what Aaron Rodgers was, we're a contender. So I also don't know how anybody could be sure he's not going to go back to his MVP form.
I'll say this. Not to cut you off, Jeremy. I apologize.
Go ahead.
Because I am going to be hopping off soon. Unfortunately, I'll say this. Last year's statistics on Green Bay with a broken thumb that he finished with, if he's the Jets starting quarterback with those numbers, he finishes with a top 5 performance in the history of the franchise. And we've drafted more quarterbacks than any other team since the 90s. So what more do we need to convince you? When was the last time a Jets quarterback threw for 3,500 yards? For God's sake, we had the first NFL quarterback to throw for 4,000 yards, and that was Joe Namath. That was in the 60s in a 14-game season. Now they play 17, and we haven't come anywhere close to that. The best was with Fitzpatrick in that 15-year that ended in a disaster, and even he didn't touch that mark.
Yeah. But, Allison, I want to thank you for the super chat. I really, really appreciate it. I appreciate you being here. I appreciate your take. I do agree with part of it. I don't agree with it fully, but I do agree that Aaron Rodgers, if he wants to, could be a hell of a coach when he retires. Like whenever he does retire, if he wants to be, I think he could be a hell of a coach because he'll have, specifically a quarterback coach to start, right? Because you got to earn your stripes. But he could definitely be a quarterback coach because there's no quarterback in the league that would have him as a coach that wouldn't completely respect him and do everything he told them to do. And as the most accurate quarterback, or as one of the most accurate quarterbacks in the history of the NFL, I think that listening to Aaron Rodgers be your coach is a great thing. I just don't think he's done yet. I think that he's got a couple of years left in him, and I'm excited that he'll spend them with New York. But thanks for the super chat. I want to call out a big liar right now. Proud New York Jets fan is going to pretend that he's happy about Dalvin Cook. He was against this move for like ever. The guy was cursing it out. He stinks. We don't need him. We got Michael Carter. He's my man crush. We got freaking Bam Knight. He's another man crush. He said Izzy is going to be rookie of the year if you gave him the snaps. This guy was so anti-Dalvin Cook. He said that Dalvin Cook had more runs for no yards than any other running back in the NFL last year. He says that he should go back to the Vikings and that he's not a fan. and that he wishes Dalvin Cook went to New England because it would make them a worse team. So
Is that Nick?
Yes.
Is that Nick? Nick,
Yes.
if you could hear me, you could hold me to this. I want you to screenshot this section of the video. If we win the AFC East and Dalvin Cook is starting in the playoffs for us, and we get to all get, Jets AFC East championship, I promise you I'm going to buy you a Dalvin Cook New York Jets jersey. You can pick any color you want, and I'm going to ship it to you. That's how confident I am now that we have this guy in the backfield. Hold me to it.
I thought that right now that Nick was going to be yelling. I never said that. I wasn't against Dalvin Cook. I don't even like Michael Carter.
How could you be, Nick?
But that's not what he's mad about. What he's mad about is he's saying he wasn't happy because of Dalvin Cook. He's happy because he just won on FanDuel.
Oh my God! I was gonna say, there should not be one Jets fan upset about this move. This should not stop trying to. Just like no one should be upset about this, but we should all be excited. We should be happy. The last time guys were flurrying to go join the Jets was during the Rex and the Sanchez days, when we were bringing in the Jason Taylors, the LaDainian Tomlinsons, guys that wanted to get that one last shot to win the whole thing. And you know what? I think we got a legitimate shot this year. And I think it's going to come down to, we're going to have to go on the road because, with the history of the Jets, we got to do it the hard way. And the cherry on top is not so much the Super Bowl, but if we can go into Kansas City or Cincinnati, possibly Buffalo, and win on the road, that right there would solidify for me that it was all worth it in the end to pull all these power moves, the Cooks, the Rodgers. And you know what? We got a general man. He's not done, guys. He is not done. I'm telling you, either Devontae Adams, Mike Evans, dare I say, they'll be on the roster by the trade deadline. And we are going to continue to add depth to this offensive line. There's always surprise cuts. Or Eric Fisher's out there. Orlando Brown is still out there. I know Zach Martin just got signed with Dallas. I didn't think he was going to come here. It would have been a nice thought, but I don't think, the Cowboys were going to go into the season and say we're a better team without him rather than with him. So I'm going to end on that thought. I don't know. Jeremy, do you have anything else? Or are you going to stay on or...
Yeah, I'm going to stay on it for a couple more minutes, but I do want to say a couple of things before I do it. I want to say I believe that it's true that Aaron Rodgers now has the weapons to win another MVP, and that Chuck Wolf is right on it. I want to say that another thing about Nick Shine people don't know is that he predicts that Mekhi Becton is going to be an all-pro this year and thinks we're all idiots for even doubting him. And that everybody's forgetting that he's an all-pro tackle and that he can play the right or the left with no problem, and that he's the biggest Mekhi Becton fan there is. He also thinks McDonald should sit for the year and not be used because we don't need him, and thinks that he's very overrated and that he needs to put on a lot of muscle. Another thing about Nick that you should know is that he thinks that Lazard and Corey Davis should start over Garrett Wilson, and Garrett Wilson should have his proper time on the bench to develop. So I just wanted to put all Nick's takes out there so everybody knew about Nick and how he felt about our New York Jets.
We'll remember that, Nick. We'll remember that, especially in February.
Another super chat. I really appreciate the generosity. Like, I'm totally serious. I'm really happy to have you in the stream, and I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. I'm a diehard Jet fan, and I take that back. I want to go out, show the Packers what he can do. I like the turnarounds. But that would be a really fun thing to do. I'm sure he would want that too. I'm sure that he's going to want to definitely show up the Packers. I think he did by taking the pay cut. I think that was part of showing up the Packers. But unfortunately, we don't pay.
Jeremy, I think you're in the blender.
Am I back? Hello,
you're back.
Justin?
There you are.
I think I froze there.
You did.
But what I was saying was, unfortunately, we don't play Green Bay this year because that would be an amazing, amazing game. I messed up in my sticker that said Jeff I didn't mean to say Jeff. Of course not. That's why I read it as Jets. I helped you out there. I read it as Jet fan. But yeah, I don't know what's holding Nick up. I thought he was going to jump on and defend himself, but he didn't.
He should. He should.
You think he would? I mean, I have him saying that Becton is a Pro Bowler and that McDonald shouldn't play this year and that Garrett Wilson should sit. You think that he would be in here? But he's not. Anyway, if you're going to go, I'm going to stay on for a little bit longer.
Well, Jeremy, thank you for doing this special Monday night episode with our guest. That was awesome. For those of you that don't know, I typically do the Sunday night show. I'm going to work hard to see if we can get some more guests that you guys would like to see, for other podcasters. I've also reached out to some coaches, players, so not going to share those secrets just yet until we get some confirmation. But it's going to be interesting to see Dalvin Cook's press conference if he's wearing that shirt via the Jets Lounge. That would be awesome.
All right, man. Thanks, my friend. I'll talk to you later.
I'll see you guys this weekend. Have a good one. Go Jets.
All right, buddy. Okay. I am not alone, though, guys. We have another guest. I want to, again, thanks, Allison, for the second super chat. Super appreciate it. And, yes, I'm really excited. I hope a lot of Packer fans are still rooting for him. It's kind of nice to have that kind of juju, but we'll find out if he does. 1 second. Okay, there he is. And here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, he might be ugly. He might only have 9 toes. He might not know much about the Jets, but he's my friend, so be nice to him. Nick Shine.
Well, friends like you, bro, who needs enemies? Let me tell you. What a way to make me a villain and make everyone come into the show on Wednesday with just disdain for me. So if you look at my name, I've changed my name to I Hate Jeremy. That's my display name from now on. So sometimes I do this reverse psychology stuff when I want a player and I don't think it's going to happen. And I'll be like, I don't want him anymore. Boom. 2 days later, he signs. You're in the chat. I said it 2 days ago. That's it. I'm out on Cook. Don't want him anymore. 2 days later, he's a New York Jet. My powers are good, bro. Tell me what you want me to use them for.
Look, I think that the one thing I don't think anybody can argue this certain fact, and that fact is the Jets are definitely a better team with Dalvin Cook on it right now. People could disagree and say that they don't want to give up one of the young players and it's not worth it in the long run. They can make any argument they want. But at this moment, this year, right now at this moment, Dalvin Cook coming into that locker room, we are a better football team.
Yeah, and my initial thoughts, I was actually on live, the IOW show. Again, I was on live when we signed Aaron Rodgers, and I sent you that clip. I was on live again when Dalvin Cook news broke, so I'll have those videos. Here's my thoughts. My initial thought, I'm sure a lot of Jets fans have this thought. I'm not the only one here. I'm not breaking news with this. I think that there's a very good chance Breece Hall now starts on the short-term IR or the PUP list, right? Michael Carter looked really good. Izzy looked really good. I think Bam might be out. I originally told you, and you know this, I've said it on shows and in chat, that I think Michael Carter would be the odd man out. But I think Carter looked really good. And what Carter brings in the passing game and leadership, I think might hold up. And I think Bam may be the guy on the short end of the stick here. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with Dalvin. I'm fine with Izzy. I'm fine with Carter. I'm fine with Hall. I'm fine with all these guys getting some burn.
Yeah.
I'm not upset at all.
I mean, what can be bad about it? I mean, we just have more weapons.
Yeah. And I'm not upset at all if Hall is not there opening day, because I want Hall in January. I want Hall in February in Vegas. I don't care if Hall plays in September. It would be nice, but let's be realistic. I know Jets fans, myself included, Jeremy knows this, we're to the fucking moon right now with this, right? Everything is going our way. Everyone's picking the Jets. Aaron Rodgers turned down the Patriots to come here. Cook turned down the Dolphins and the Patriots to come here. It's not just fan hype and hysteria. We are legitimately a good team with a great culture, with a lovable coach, with great leadership, a great defense. I feel like I'm dreaming because this isn't what being a Jet fan is about. This is not what being a Jet fan has been. This is new for all of us. We've never been the pretty girl at the dance, Jer. I mean,
Right.
you know, I got some sweet legs on me. You know, as long as the toes covered up, I'm all right. But we have never been the pretty girl that everyone wants to dance with.
You know, I was gonna say, Nick, you look better than you've looked in a long time right now on this feed.
Oh, I'm outside. Bad lighting. We're about to go to ShopRite. I hit a $7 free casino bet, and turned it into like 100. I was like, all right, it's time to go to ShopRite and get things you need.
And hopefully you're still up in blackjack overall.
Yeah.
Okay.
God's been good to me. God's been good to me.
All right.
The gods, the Jets gods, the football gods, your God, everyone's been good.
So you're shopping right now, huh? You're gonna get some food.
No. I'm in my I'm outside the house waiting to go. Jody's inside. She's helping me out. She's putting my clothes in the dryer. And then
do you move around on crutches?
Oh yeah. I got my crutches here.
Okay.
I'm in my little rocking chair outside. The car is locked, and I couldn't get to the car, so I was like, I'll sit in my rocking chair.
Do you drive one of those cute little things?
Oh hell yeah! oh, dude, I drive around with the crutches pointing out, and I try to joust with people like I'm at medieval times. I saw a little kid the other day. He had to be like 8 or 9 years old, and he was driving in the cart. And I went to go down an aisle, and his mom and sister walked, and then he walked. I was like, hey. And he stopped and looked at me like he thought I was going to yell at him. I go, don't worry about these people that walk around on their feet being normal. Us cripples got to stick together, bro. I got your back. And the kid just looked at me like, dude, what is wrong with you?
That's unbelievable.
But I don't think we're done. I don't think we're done adding a difference maker. I don't. I'm waiting to see the numbers. I saw that it could be up to 8.6. I'm projecting the cap hits in like the 4s. Little bit of a signing bonus, and then incentives can make it up to 8.6. But I'm very curious to see what the final numbers come in at. You look. All right, let's just throw out names. If we were to move Becton, Corey Davis, Breece Hall, the cornerback, you're looking at close to another $15-16 million that would be freed up off of this year's cap if it's done before opening day.
Right.
There is room to make a major improvement to this team if they see fit. Guys become available. Guys get disgruntled. You lose a couple games in September. Your team starts 1-4, 1-5. Joe Douglas will have the ability to pounce.
Yeah.
Who passed away?
Huh? Collins from the Ravens, a former player, I think.
Oh man, yeah. I'm getting the.
I don't have the details of what happened. Alex Collins.
1994 to 2023, so 29 years old, young baby. Jesus Christ, man, horrible.
Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah, prayers to all of his loved ones, man. That sucks.
Yeah,
that sucks.
They've had a rough time, the Ravens, that organization. Some people, losing people. So it's a bummer. So look, I kind of got screwed in my fantasy, my auction fantasy league. I paid a lot of money to get Breece Hall, and now I feel like not only he may not play some games, but even if he does, he's not going to get as many carries. Like I think Dalvin Cook, for that much money, no matter what happens, even if Breece Hall plays and he's fine, Dalvin Cook is not going to just get 5 carries. I mean, they're definitely going to break this up, and he's going to be, he's going to take away a lot from Breece Hall. So I just got killed in my fantasy league.
I don't think he'll take a lot away from Breece Hall. I think early on, if Breece is out, obviously, I think you'll see a good mix. I think you'll see good situational football. I think you'll see the right back used at the right time. I turned off my Wi-Fi since I'm outside. Are you hearing me better now? Because I saw somebody make a comment that I was muffled.
I could hear you.
Okay. So it's going to be good situational football, and it's going to be running back by committee. And we saw that last year until Breece showed, I'm that dog. I'm going to get the ball. It's me. So I'm okay with it being by committee, and let the cream rise to the top, man. Best guy in the best situation, put him out there. I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's Nick Bawden getting a carry at the goal line. If it's somebody who can get the ball in advance and do good situational football, give him the ball. And when Breece Hall becomes Breece Hall, he's 1A. There's no 1B. He's number one. And we'll all know it's the eye test. And that might be week 6. That might be week 1. Who knows? We're all projecting and assuming Breece is going to get listed. Who knows? Maybe he doesn't. Maybe they move on from Bam.
Yeah.
Bam's been slow. I know Dom said he was missing some holes the other day, or Buffalo. One of them said it. And, it made me start watching some of his stuff. And I'm like, all right, wait a minute. 28 years old, veteran running back has died. Damn it. The Bleacher Report came in with a little bit of info. So, listen, it's not the days of, and I say this with respect, but kind of to show you where the running back room has come, when Bilal Powell was our number one, running for 600 yards a year. Mm-hmm. We have talent now. We have multiple guys that could very well be 1,000-yard rushers, in my opinion, if they were the main guy. So it's not a knock on anybody, but I'm going to be real, Jerry. I'm enamored with the fact that marquee players are choosing the New York Jets. That's what I take out of today, most of all. Like, I'm not overly excited about Cook. I know you threw me under the bus really hard there before when I was in the chat, and kudos to you. That was a very good prank. Like, the chat was believing you. The chat was buying in, and I'm sitting on the toilet waiting to get ready to go to ShopRite, and I'm like, this son of a bitch. I'm like, he's really throwing me good under the bus. It was very impressive what you did. But, like, I'm not over the moon about it. I'm level-headed about it, right? Let's see where it goes. Let's see what it gets us. Let's see how they use them. Let's see what happens with Hall. It's still a lot of let's sees. Let's see what happens with the line. There's a lot to be determined with this move. It's not as clear-cut. It's nowhere near. It's 100th the excitement of getting Rodgers. Maybe not even that much. But it's going to be fun, man. We got some nice pieces. We got good coaching. We got a good offensive line coach. We got a good offensive coordinator. We got a great quarterback who's going to make sure he fits in and is welcome and knows his role with the team. There's too many positives, man. It's too many positives. It's a good time to be a Jet fan. It's very, very exciting.
It's super exciting. And so Allison says, when is the next time they play? They play Tampa next week. I believe is on Saturday that we play Tampa. I have to check the schedule.
Yeah, Saturday. Saturday at 6, I want to say.
Right. It's on NFL Plus if it's not on the NFL Network. And then I would say the reason why the regular season was moved onto YouTube is they signed the biggest contract. They bought out the rights to the out-of-network games. YouTube TV. I'm bummed about it. I have DirecTV. Why the hell do I have it now? What's the point? So I'm actually now me and my wife have to go through the hassle of switching. So we're getting rid of our DirecTV and we are switching to YouTube TV because I'm kind of like nervous about it, Nick, because I'm going to be 100% reliant on internet because I like the direct TV. It's been very reliable, so I'm a little bit bummed, but that's what it is. It is what it is, Allison. The world is all about money, and it moved because YouTube paid for it. That's just the reality.
Yeah,
So
you're pretty good. You're pretty reliable with the internet. Besides for that one time you were in North Carolina and you fell on your face in the middle of the night with the laptop, you've been pretty reliable with connectivity.
I've been freezing a lot though. Even tonight I froze a couple of times, but and it's hard for me to get the TV up here working. So
the good thing too about it, if you have unlimited data with your phone,
I'm just going to go to my phone.
Yeah, if internet goes down, you can stream it to the TV. You can throw it to the TV from your phone.
I don't even have to do that. I mean, I could literally connect to my phone and use my phone as a Wi-Fi.
All right. As much as I would love to stay on here with you and heckle you back for the way that you got me, we're going to hit ShopRite, and then I got to hit One Jets Drive is on too. That just got
Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to go too. Nick, thanks for coming on, and I want to tell everybody I'd like to thank Nick. He is the New York Jets fans' biggest Zach truther, and we love you for it, man.
We are live. We got Harry W. We got Richie from Jets Media, Matt O'Leary, Iowa Jets fan, we're in the house. We got Dom C in the house. We got Steve, live, CEO of the Jet Lounge. So I knew I'd get rich on my channel. See what's going on. Yeah, there we go. Woo.
Jets by 1 million today.
Yeah.